You're not a Steelers fan if even after a blowout win, you're not stressed all week. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Steelburgh. And this is not a post-game reaction. This is a bit of emergency news. Justin Fields has likely been benched for this game against the Jets. Yeah, that was kind of my reaction. You saw my reaction earlier in the week with that video. But, yeah, apparently Russell Wilson started taking Justin's first team reps in practice and is in line to start on Sunday. Now, first of all, I want to clarify. They did not say that Fields would not play at all. Okay, Smith said that there were chances for packages with Fields in. There was maybe a chance with Justin and Russell Wilson would both be in at the same time, which would just be crazy. And I've been doing a lot of kind of research with this. Listening to the Fan Morning Show a lot. I read on the Steelers website a lot about what was happening here, and I've kind of been following the story all week, along with most of you probably, because this is pretty big news. And today we're just going to kind of express our confusion, express maybe anger, and I'm trying to explain some of the rationale that the Steelers are giving. So the first thing I want to touch on is the interview that happened just earlier today with Justin Fields. Justin Fields kind of came out and said, hey, if I had played well enough, I would have the starting job. If I had played great rather than just good, like Tomlin said, then I'll get the starting job. And I really liked that. I liked hearing that, especially after living with Kenny Pickett for the last 2 years and the situation we had with him in the spring and late winter of last year, where it was really clear that he was unhappy being in any kind of competition setting. I mean, when he heard that we were going to be bringing in competition for him, he got his ass out of Pittsburgh faster than you can say small hands. I mean, he was gone. He had no interest in competing for a job, which is why he went to Philadelphia and sat behind Jalen Hurts and isn't competing for a job because he's just the backup. Smart move there, Kenny. Anyway, I really liked seeing this kind of maturity and leadership from Justin. It kind of just shows how he's matured. And I like it. I like to hear it. I think that's something that the locker room can build around because, I mean, when you have your starting quarterback for 6 weeks get benched for another guy, that can cause some turmoil in the locker room. That can make some players, especially the receivers and the O-line who have worked with that guy for so long, a little uneasy. What are we going to get from this new guy? Granted, he isn't really new because they've been practicing with him, but new in terms of getting the starting reps. But that's easy transition that Justin is kind of implying there. That kind of smooth move from him to Wilson, just saying, oh, I didn't play well enough. It really shows a lot of maturity, and it really makes me excited to hopefully have him as the future of this Pittsburgh team. Now, I also want to touch on what Tomlin said earlier in the week because that's kind of what referencing the Fields part of this little video. And it's kind of damning when you hear it. And after just hearing that Wilson was taking Fields' first team reps, it was concerning to hear things like this. And I have some quotes here from Tomlin. Tomlin said, and I quote, Justin has been really good, and we've been really good at times, but not to be confused with great. So Fields has been good, but not great. Are you expecting Russell Wilson to be like an MVP caliber quarterback? Because this isn't 2014 Russell Wilson. This isn't 2016 Russell Wilson. He's not an old man, but he's not a young man either. So I don't think it's necessarily smart to assume that he's going to take us from that step from good to great. But then he goes on. Quote, "This is a competitive league. We're trying to position ourselves to be that team, and we had got to play with talent with which we hadn't had an opportunity to play with. So we're going to potentially explore these things. Play with talent which we haven't had an opportunity to play." That's kind of the key point there. Tomlin thinks that Russell Wilson has a sort of talent that Justin Fields doesn't have. But I would argue that Fields has a kind of talent that Russell Wilson doesn't have. Russell Wilson is not immobile. He ran for 300-some yards last year and a handful of touchdowns on the ground. One of which being a 20-plus yard run at some point last season. I heard it on the Fan today. He's not going to be running for 15-yard chunks every single game, but he can move a little bit. It's not the same way as Fields, though. Fields has that innate athletic ability to do things that I've only ever seen Lamar Jackson do. Granted, I will still stand firm on my point that Lamar Jackson is extremely overrated. As a thrower, as a quarterback, as a runner, there's no doubt. I can't contest that he's not one of the best runners in the league. I'd put him up against some running backs for being the best runner in the league. Other than him, I don't know what other quarterback could do what Fields has been doing right now. Now, if Fields dials up that accuracy a little bit, then we can talk. And I think that's what Tomlin is talking about. The pocket presence. There have been occasions where Fields has looked off open players. Where he's looked off receivers who have maybe had a chance to make a play downfield for a dump off. And that hasn't happened as much as it did under like Kenny Pickett or Mason Rudolph or Ben Roethlisberger in his later years. But it still happened. And I think that's what Tomlin's kind of talking about, is he wants that pocket presence. But you're sacrificing the legs. So I'm really hoping we do see a mixed target share between Wilson and Fields. I don't know how much we're going to see that. My guess is it might only be in like goal line sets. Because I'm telling you, I need to see more of what the Steelers did on that goal line drive after Dante Jackson's interception against the Raiders. That fake to the right, bootleg to the left run, I've never seen the Steelers pull off an offensive play as beautifully as that was. So if you can put him in for those kind of like end zone plays, or maybe put him in a wildcat, although I guess he's a quarterback, and have like Wilson taking the snap, hand off the field, or Wilson takes it, passes across the field, Fields throws it. I don't know. I'm not an offensive coordinator. I don't claim to be a master at making like plays and stuff, but I do think there are ways to use his legs. Going back to what Tomlin said, on kind of the reasoning that he is benching Fields for Russ, there's also a totality of his resume as well that makes you more comfortable than guys with shorter resumes in that regard, in terms of the ability to play ball in a limited amount of exposure. That, again, is iffy. I think, again, he's referencing pocket presence. He's referencing Fields' experience versus Wilson's much larger array of experience in an NFL game, in a lineup. Fields spent time in Chicago, but not much, and he didn't really put up any great, numbers, necessarily. Wilson, however, spent quite a long time in Seattle and a couple years in Denver. In Denver, he definitely fell off, but he was still looked at as really good through the end of his time in Seattle. The Broncos gave up multiple first-round picks for him, so they saw something, and it just didn't work out in Denver. I think that can be harnessed in Pittsburgh, but again, he's a mid-30s quarterback. He is not going to be the run-and-gun guy we saw in Seattle in 2015, 2014. He's not going to be that guy anymore. I think what Tomlin's hoping to see is that pocket presence and maybe train Fields to have more of that presence. I was listening to someone on the fan this morning, and they were talking about how watching Wilson practice, you can see how his pocket presence is just better. It's different. You can see him looking downfield and reading through his progressions and not missing the open receivers. He was barking out orders at the line. He was calling audibles. He was moving stuff around in the way that an experienced, like, well-tenured quarterback does. Justin Fields is an experienced quarterback. He's played years in the league. But he does have spots that he can improve on. I do not think this is the end of Justin Fields' time in Pittsburgh. And I don't think that it hurt his confidence as much as I feared it had earlier in the week by his press conference earlier today. But I think it's a slippery slope. I think Tomlin royally screwed up the situation by giving Fields... Did he give him false hope? Did he tell Fields that he could win the job and then stripping it away from him? I just think this whole situation with Wilson's calf injury, if he really was even hurt, is just such insanity. I'm like having trouble putting it into words because it all is just like completely skewed from the original plan. Like the plan was Russell Wilson starting first, maybe the whole season if he's good enough, and then Fields watches and he's the future. Well, then Wilson isn't ready for week 1. Fine, Justin starts. Isn't ready for week 2. Okay, Justin starts. Isn't ready for week 3, 4, or 5. At that point, just why not cut your losses? I mean, you can say there's no harm in giving Russ a chance to see what he can do. But if you give him too long of a leash, where's that going to do to Fields' confidence? Like, hey, maybe I didn't play great, like Tomlin said. Justin has been really good, but he hasn't been great. What if Wilson just plays good? What if Wilson doesn't play great? Does he get a longer leash than Justin just because he is more experienced? If not, then why the hell have we been waiting this long to play him? I cannot believe that the little calf injury that kept him out for week 1, that he was almost ready to play week 1, has been hurt this long. I don't believe it. I'm sorry. I mean, there's no way. So why give Justin this like chance to be the guy? Let him build this chemistry. Work with the offensive line as hurt and as destroyed as they are. And then rip it away from him. Like that. At least split the first team reps. Like, why are you giving him all... You're giving a guy who has not started a regular season NFL game for the Steelers an important stretch of games. We're 4-2. The Jets and Giants games are must win going into the bye week. We need to be 6-2 going into the bye. Because after the bye, we play the Commanders and then the Ravens back to back. Neither of those are going to be easy games. And then we have a string of our divisional games and the Chiefs and Eagles sprinkled in there for good measure. I just think this is a lot of chaos being thrown in at one time, at a really, really bad time. I don't know what to do. Like, I mean, there's nothing I can do. I'm just a college kid talking to his camera and the hopes that people are listening. But I mean, like, I don't know how to feel as a fan. Like, do I put all my faith in Wilson now? Or is he just going to be stripped of it in 2 weeks? Are we going to have this back and forth? There is one little caveat also that people have thrown out as a reasoning for Fields' benching that I think is bullshit. I don't think it's real. I don't think it's happening. But people have said that the reason that Fields is being benched is because if Fields plays less than 50% of the snaps for the Pittsburgh Steelers in this season, the 6th-round pick that we traded the Bears for Justin Fields will become a 4th. No way. That is not... Throw that out. That is not a reason here. They are not going to sacrifice this season for the sake of a 6th to a 4th. I don't think a team would even do that from a 2nd to a 1st. Honestly, no self-respecting team at 4-2. By the way, tied for 1st in the division of their division, and one of the top teams in the AFC right now, statistically, in their standings, is going to throw away their season for a draft pick. Like, let's not throw that hunk of garbage out of there. No, the real issue here, and the issue that I'm trying to touch on, is why now? Right? Like, the only answer I can think of is Wilson's going to get these 2 weeks before the bye as kind of put up or shut up. If he's good, they'll keep him in. If he's bad, I guess Fields plays after the bye. But, like, what does that do to Fields' confidence? Like, you're taking him out for 2 weeks? What if we lose these next 2 games? If we go 0-2 in these next 2 games with Wilson, we're going into the bye 4-4. How much pressure are you putting on Fields going into that tough stretch of the season when you've just shown you have no confidence in him to lead the team? It's just absolutely stupid, in my opinion. It's a bad move, and I would not be surprised if it backfires. Now, hopefully on Tuesday, when I'm giving you the post-game analysis of the Jets game, I'm going to be raving about how well Wilson played. I'm going to be raving that, there's a competition now. Who are we going to re-sign at the end of the year? Is it going to be Wilson or Fields? Who are we giving the contract to? Oh, we have 2 great guys. But I saw a take at the beginning of the season. If you have 2 starting quarterbacks, you have 0 starting quarterbacks. Good teams don't need 2 starting quarterbacks. Teams like the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes. Teams like the Bills have Josh Allen. Teams like the Eagles have Jalen Hurts. 2 quarterbacks is no quarterbacks because the team needs to rally around one person. And Tomlin kind of threw a wrench into that plan. And this video was supposed to be my opinion on what I think happened with the benching. But I can't give a proper opinion because I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I'll be able to give an opinion after the game, after I see Wilson play. This could be a complete shit show and Wilson's benched at halftime. But in reality, it's Steelers football. That's never going to happen. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about this move. Russell Wilson is our starting quarterback. Maybe Fields will get in, but Steelers country, let's ride. Let's steal. Let's weld. What's this say? I don't know. But that's all I got for you for this one. I hope you enjoyed my rant about this. This ended up being a lot longer than I expected it, just because I just kept talking about it. I mean, there's so much I could say. It's kind of hard to gauge, but it's also just fun to speculate. And I hope you guys enjoyed. If you stuck all the way through, I love you for that. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and please subscribe if you really enjoyed. It doesn't take much time. Just hit that little red button, and it would really help me out. And we're at a point where there's so few subscribers that when you press that red button, you get to see the number go up. It's not just like some number and then a K. You actually get to see the number go up. So add to that number, and I'll see you guys after we beat the Jets, hopefully. But have a good morning, evening, afternoon, night, everybody. Goodbye from the Steelburgh. So we're going with the collar shirt under the jersey look today. All right.